But a big shift is coming for those who make their living from church. The shift is bivocational ministry. I first heard this from Todd Wilson, who ran Exponential for many years. And when I first heard it, I thought, that's kind of wacky. I don't see it coming. But I was also being paid full-time from a church that just seemed like it would be around forever. And now the churches that I was a part of that seemed like they would be around forever are half the size they were back then, or a third of the size, a quarter of the size that they were back then. They've dwindled. They're still able to support at least one minister full-time, but that's starting to go downward. And many churches are now in that position where they used to be able to have paid staff and are no longer able to pay people the way they used to. And so they either have to have a parsonage, or the preacher is going to have to work another job, or they're going to have to just use volunteers. And in fact, I believe that these shifts will actually be an advantage for the church, not a disadvantage for the church. And Paul, again, modeled this perfectly for us in his tent making, that he had something on the side. He was able to make some money to not depend on the church. When you depend on the church for money, this is a huge benefit of going bivocational. When you depend on the church for money, it can compromise your message. It can make certain things hard to say. It can make certain people very hard to offend. If you think there's certain things that you need to be teaching, but you know that that big donor is sitting there who has that issue, you may well avoid that for job security. And it's just reality. I know there are plenty of bold, courageous preachers out there who would just do it anyway, but that's not everybody. The money can absolutely make your message adjust. Paul knew it all too well, and that's why he was out there making tents. So the budgets are getting smaller, the ability to afford someone full-time is getting less, and that's going to move the ministers out into the actual community, out of the actual world in which the people they minister to live. This is where this is going to be a huge advantage for the church, because what we've done is we've created a system in the vocational ministry, paid professional ministry, where this person can go through college, get a Bible degree, go to graduate school seminary, get another Bible degree, have never stepped foot in a normal workplace, because church is not a normal workplace. I'm just going to tell you, having worked in normal workplaces and having worked in church workplaces, they are not the same thing. And now you have this 20-something-year-old, late 20s, mid-20s person who's trying to be relevant and trying to preach into something that they have never lived in. And so the bivocational move to get the preacher out into the workplace where the congregation, I almost said the audience, no, might be true sometimes, where the congregation lives, where they work. This is going to be absolutely helpful to that minister to live in that world and make a living in that world, just like those who they are teaching live. The applicability of what they're saying and the relatability of what they're saying is going to be exponentially better in that situation than them have never held down a traditional type of job and have only done church work. It's going to get them outside the bubble, and we need to get them outside the bubble. The bubble is harmful. The bubble gives you ignorance. You don't really know how to relate. You don't really know how to connect. You don't really know what other people are going through. So you got to get free of the church money. And when you do it, not only do you become more relevant, your message can become more pure, because you are not worried about what people are thinking, because if you lose your church job, you still have the other job, and you're not out at zero and all of a sudden having to move. I mean, you think about a fired preacher, if they don't get any kind of severance, which we've talked about before, can be very ugly in churches. I'm putting a video up there about that. But you have to pretty much move in most places, because there's probably not a large number of churches in the area who are hiring someone who is aligned with them in the way that you may or may not be. So this is not just like a plumber or an electrician or a realtor losing their job, and they just kind of maybe pick that up and, without having to move. Big deal when you lose your job in ministry. So it's coming. It's coming 100%. It's already here, and I think it's going to be wonderful. I think it's a beautiful thing. Think about even starting new churches. New churches are best started with people who have employment, not people who need to quit their jobs in order to start a church. And that makes people relevant. It helps you to connect. It helps you to stay in the know. What's going on out there with people? Are you in a church where there are part-time ministers or just volunteer people? If so, I want to hear from you. If you're in a church that was multi-staff and now you're down a few staff members, I want to hear from you. Maybe you are a staff member and you're concerned about this. I want to hear from you. Because what are you going to do if you don't have the skills you need to land the job that you need to be able to take care of your family, in a sense, is if the giving goes down, the attendance goes down, the budgets go down, all that, you're going to go down with the ship. And so you have to start preparing for that today and start working that out so that you don't have all your eggs in that basket when the time comes. I'm putting up a video about church and severance. When ministers lose their job, sometimes it's like the whole you don't want to know how the sausage is made thing, like they say in real estate. That's true in ministry. You don't want to know how a minister gets fired. It can be done in a healthy way, but it can be done in an absolute mischievous, dishonest way. And I've railed against that in this video that if you want to watch that, it's disturbing. I'm just going to warn you up front. So anyway, y'all take care. Talk soon.